As an engineer, I want to make the world a better place.
Chemical engineering itself as a discipline is the integration of all of our sciences, so physics, math, biology, chemistry, with applications to solve problems. Our body is one big chemical reaction, right? Everything that we do every day, the materials that we make, all are based in chemical reactions. And so engineers and chemical engineers look at how do we take things we can do in the lab from chemistry and biology, those integrations, and scale them for real world use. I think what excites me the most about chemical engineering is that we are training students to solve problems that don't exist. We don't know what's going to be around the corner. We don't know when the next pandemic is. We don't know what the next critical fuel crisis will be. But we have to give students those fundamentals and then the interdisciplinary knowledge from other fields to really bring all of these things together and solve these global challenges.
Students can really be able to tackle a really wide range of fields as a chemical engineer. There is tons of process development they could potentially do. They could be looking at applying materials. They could be looking at polymers, energy storage, energy production, batteries. That is effectively chemical engineering. Potentially drug discovery, drug delivery. How can we produce these medicines? What medicines work? But if they're more interested in the environment, being able to find ways that we can try to be able to take the challenges that are facing the climate and being able to try to address those with a chemical perspective. It is also food science. It is trying to find ways that we can potentially have enough food for everyone in the world.
I think chemical engineering is a really unique degree. I think every time I've walked into a class, the professor starts off with, this is all about problem solving. Chemical engineering is about problem solving.
The Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering is our kind of main program, and then we go and have 5 different combined majors. So we combine with bioengineering, computer science, and environmental engineering, all which are new this year, combined with physics and combined with biochemistry.
We have over 20 research faculty as well as several teaching faculty. And most of them are ready and willing to take on undergraduate students to do research with them.
We have 5 research areas where faculty focus on in chemical engineering. So we have biomedical and biomolecular systems, complex and computational systems, engineering education and pedagogy, materials and nanomaterials, and energy and sustainability. Our undergraduates are really writing papers, doing cutting edge research, and finding lots of ways to use their knowledge from the classroom in the lab.
I've worked in 2 labs. I worked in a polymer lab my sophomore year for Professor Lustig. We were contracted by the government on the project I was working for, making kind of these 2D polymer films for different applications. That was cool. I went and I tried another lab for a professor that I had a relationship with, Professor Carrier. I worked in her lab, which is focused on drug delivery, and I worked with one of her postdocs. I dealt more with how do we metabolize drugs with food in our system versus without food in our system. That was a big part of what I did there, and it was a really great experience as well.
Students who get involved with research are way more interested in their classes because they know, like, oh, I need to know that because it applies here. But you get that application even before you go into co-op.
You come to Northeastern for the great education, but also for the co-op program that is one of the top in the country, if not the world. Because as an engineer, getting hands-on experience is so incredibly important.
It is effectively a time that they are not taking classes. They are basically just working and as a chemical engineer in the field. And getting to kind of experience what it is actually like to work in industry.
The reason I decided to come to Northeastern was because of the co-op program, because I knew I could use these co-ops to test different industries and different jobs and be able to really find where I felt I belonged. I did my co-op at Alivio Therapeutics, Brigham and Women's Hospital, and ETH Zurich in Switzerland. I was able to travel and live in Switzerland. My lab represented like 10 different countries. Estonia, Hungary, Italy, Mexico, Germany, France, like the list goes on. That was an amazing experience to be able to travel, meet people from different cultures.
Northeastern was really different from any other school I applied to with this idea of co-op. I thought working and taking classes, what an amazing opportunity. I never heard of anything like that, and to be so flexible in a curriculum was also something no other institution could provide. I worked at a small pharmaceutical startup called Continuous Pharmaceuticals, looking to make the small molecule drug manufacturing process totally continuous. I got to run experiments. I got analytical chemistry experience. I got some process engineering experience. I got to see how a company functions, which was huge. I got to be at a startup and wear a ton of different hats. I was just thrown different places wherever they needed me. That was a great experience. And also, it really gives you a leg up when you're applying to jobs. I definitely, people are surprised when you have experience, and in a great way.
Capstone is effectively the culmination of a student's entire educational career.
Capstone courses are senior design courses, so it's really taking everything that the student learned and then applying it to an innovative project.
They're usually based in some kind of real-world application and come from lots of different places, including faculty or other industry partners.
That kind of helps them really see how a chemical engineer is going to make a difference in the world.
I'm in Capstone right now, which is really cool because I get to pick my own project, and my project is actually related to taking food waste and digesting it with bacteria and making it into a biodegradable compostable plastic. So that's my capstone, which is really interesting, really cool. It takes all of our chemical engineering courses and incorporates them into one.
Capstone is really exciting for me just because it's the culmination of everything that I've learned. It's just kind of bringing everything together and kind of cohesively saying like, this is it, which is really exciting to me. And then in general, the design process is so incredibly invaluable, not just educationally, but just in the industry as well.
I'm advisor for the American Institute of Chemical Engineers. This is AICHE. They really look at how to provide community through the undergraduate chemical engineers. AICHE is a great way to meet peers and start to understand a little bit of what chemical engineering is from some upperclassmen, see some of the events that they have going on to build community.
When I was a freshman, I was extremely overwhelmed by the amount of talent I saw in the room when I looked around me. So I went to AICHE meetings, and I met upperclassmen to this day who I still talk to, who kind of helped me through, whether it was class decisions, co-op decisions, research decisions. They would kind of guide me and say, hey, I've been there, done that recently, let me help you.
The more that you potentially get involved, the more that you can start to figure out what it is that you potentially are interested in, and across that broad spectrum you can find out what it is that you're passionate about, what you want to do.
Another part of AICHE is kind of under the umbrella but separate, which is a competition, which is the ChemiCar.
I got involved with ChemiCar my freshman year. I've been going ever since. I love it. We build a shoebox-sized car, not a real-sized car, that is powered by 2 different chemical reactions. So one of the chemical reactions provides power to the car, just makes it go, while the other is a timing reaction, because the whole point of ChemiCar is it culminates to this final competition where you show up day of and they tell you that day what distance they want the car to go. So your goal is to go as close to that distance as possible, but of course you have no idea what it is until that day of competition.
It's been a really great experience. I've made a lot of friends in the major, people I hang out with socially, and then we go and do our homework together. And I also know a lot of the professors, which is great. It's helped me get research experience, job experience, and also just mentor guidance.
To me, there's nothing more exciting than training the future chemical engineers to solve problems that don't exist yet. I hope that you will join us in the chemical engineering department as you start your journey on your career.
When I think of the chemical engineering department, the word that comes to mind is welcoming.
Opportunity.
Global impact.
Community.